Hello everyone, I hope you're all doing well. In this video, I will be discussing about loop statement and specifically for loop. In the last video, I have discussed while loop. I have also discussed about the reason why do we need loop statement itself. We know that we need loop statements, for example, if we want to run one statement multiple times. For example, if I want to print one line of code, for example, I will say good evening if I want to print it multiple times. So I will write once this one and I will tell to the computer to repeat it multiple times. And the way that I can tell this to the computer is either using for loop or using while loop. So for loop is responsible for me to do this statement multiple times. And the same thing for while loop. So now let's discuss how can I use for loop. So for loops, its syntax is like this: for is keyword. After that, this variable is an our term. We can use this as a variable that we are responsible for putting it. And then inside this sequence. So what do you mean by sequence? What is sequence? So let us give a sequence of numbers. For example, this is a sequence of numbers. Let's give a sequence of letters. For example, this is a sequence of letters. For example, if you want to give, let us give a sequence of names. For example, Ali, the next name Ahmad, the next name, for example, Jalal. So this is nothing but sequence of names. For example, Jalal. So what sequence means? Collection of items. So what do you mean by this one? So we will say for item inside this. If you want a number, so what does it will do? For first it will put one inside item, next time it will put two inside item, next time it will put three inside item. If our sequence is letters, so first it will put a inside item, for the next time D, for the next time G. If our sequence is names, then first it will put Ali inside this item, next time it will put Ahmad, next way it will put Jalal. So for loop is specifically used when we have fixed number of iteration. For example, in this sequence we have six number. So for loop will be executed six times. Here we have three letter. Here it will be executed three times. Here we have three names. If our sequence is this one, then it will be also executed three times. So usually when we are using for loop, we are using a sequence. So this sequence can be anything. And here this one is nothing but body of for loop. You know that since we are using Python and Python has indentation, when we are using the body of for loop, we do not have open bracket or closing bracket. How we know that this is body of for loop? If any code is written with this much space inside for loop, so they are all called as a body of for loop, and they will be always repeated while the for loop is going to be repeated. So let us get an example. For example, if this is my sequence, I will just check with this later. I'm just thinking that these letters are my sequence. So how can I use them in for loop? I will say for item inside this sequence, and then I'll just print them. I'll say print item. See, it will print A, D, and G. So first A will be stored inside item, next time D will be stored inside item, next time G will be stored inside item, and just printing it. So this is variable. I can use instead of item, I can use I also. There is no issue with that. So it will have no problem with me. So I can add in the sequence also. For example, I can add another number or another letter. See, it's just coming and bringing. So whenever I have sequences, I can use for loop. So what does for loop do? First, it will put the first item inside I, and then whatever I can do it. Here I will, whether I will print it, I will multiply it, whatever I can do it. So now let us discuss more with the application of this for loop. First one, how can we iterate over a list? You know that we have a data structure called list. So for example, if we have a list of numbers, so we'll say my list. Then I will say I have a list of numbers, for example, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. How can I use for loop with this one? So for let's say for number inside my list. Since my list is also a sequence, so that's why it will be the same thing. I will just print in. So it will go to inside. This is my sequence. So this is the sequence that I have. First, one will be stored inside n. Next time, two will be stored inside n. Next time, three till it's ending. When it's ending, the for loop also will end. See? That's it. 1 to 7. I can also iterate inside a string. For example, if I have a string, for example, I will say my string, so I will have um, a name, for example, couple. So what will I do? I can use also for example, s, which is nothing but a string, or for l, which is nothing later, inside my string, since my string is also another sequence. So I can print, for example, L, print me one by one later. See, first it will print K, next time A, next time B, next time U, next time L. So we can also, for example, we can say print each letter 5 times. So we can do it like this also, print me, so it will print like this, cable, like this. So we can use for loop also inside the string. The next one is printing inside a range. So what is range function and how does it work? So range function is creating a sequence of numbers. For example, I am telling me create me numbers from 1 to 100. So I will write like this, range 1 comma 100. So I want a number, a sequence of number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 till 99 till 100. So if I'm writing like this, it will take a lot of time for me. So that's why there is a function called range. It has 3 points. It has the starting point. Where shall I start? I will say, for example, I want a number from 20 to 100. So I will write start from 20 till 100. The stopping point is 100. One thing that you should remember, that if I want till 100, I need to write 101, since it will not go. It will include this one, but it will not include the last one. It will go to 1 minus this one. If I'm writing 101, it will go to 100. If I'm writing 102, it will go to 101. It will not include the last value. So let us get and use this one in for loop. For example, I will say for I in range, for example, if I want to print number from 20 to 100, so 20, for example, and the last value I will give, when I want to make it 100, so 100 is a large value, so I will say 101. Let me give and print this one. So I will just say print I. So it will print me from 20 to 100. Let's go. See, it's saying 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26. So the last value which is printed to me, it is 100. So let us get started and say one thing more about the here. We have said this is our starting point in range function. This is stopping point. So give me a number from 20 to 100. So what is this step means? See, once it is printing 20, why it is printing 21? Why it's not printing 20.5? Then next time it should go 21. Next time it should go 21.5. So since the step is normally 1, so if I'm writing 1 here also, it will not change anything. So this is the step. What do you mean by a step? Now if you are writing 20, what next time shall you print? So next time you will print 20 plus 1, 21. 20 plus 1, 22. So if I want to print 5 times, for example, I want to print 20, next 25, next 30, 35. So every time I need to have 5 steps. Then I will write here the step 5. So it will print me like this. See, if I run it again, 20, next step will 25. So this 5 will be added to previous value to get the next number, and it will go till 100. It will not go to the stopping point. So this is it. This function will generate me a range of numbers. It will start from this point, it will go to this point, but it will not include this one less than this one, and this is the step one. So I can also iterate over a tuple, over a set, and over a dictionary. We will give an example for this one. Also, we know that we have tuple, tuple data structure. So I will say my tuple. I will give, for example, a series of numbers like this. So now I can use for loop for tuple also. For example, I will say I in my tuple. I will just print the numbers. Print, for example, I. So it will print all those numbers which are set inside my tuple. And next one, I can also iterate over a set of numbers. You already know this one. So let me get. I will say for. So first I will put my set. So I will say my set. And then I will say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Then I can use for loop also for I inside my set, and then I will print the I. See, it is printing the value which is inside my set, the set data structure. So if you do not know it, you should, I have already created a video on this data structure. And the last one, how can I use for loop with dictionary? The dictionary, for example, if I have a price dictionary, for example, I will say the price for pen is, for example, 10 rupee. The price for book is 100 rupee. And for example, the price for disk is 120, for example. So if I want to print them, then I can use for I inside price. So price is the dictionary, or inside by price I will say dictionary price. Dictionary price inside dictionary price, since all this is also a sequence of. So that's why I will say, see, if I want to print, what does it do? It will take only the keys. It will print me pen, book, and disk. If I write I, it will print me pen, book, and disk. But if I want to print pen and its price, book and its price, then how I will do? I will say print me pen, and after that print me this sign, and after that print me the price for pen. How can I print the price for pen? You know that I have to take the name of dictionary, and then I have to use this one, and then a key. For example, first one, pen, key will be the pen, and here we'll say dictionary price pen. Price for pen is 10 rupee. It will print like this. See, price for pen is 10 rupee, book is 100 rupee, disk is 120. So we can use for loop for all of them, for list, for a string, for tuple, set, and dictionary. Now let's go to the complete syntax of for loop. Usually when we are using for loop, we can have break inside for loop, we can have continue statement inside for loop, and also we can have else. You know that this is the beauty of Python with for loop. In Python with for loop, we have else statement. So when this else statement will be executed, this is not with the if, it is with directly with for. So it is with for loop. So this will be executed if break is not executed. If break statement is executed, this will not be executed. It's the same thing. We know that we have break. Break statement will terminate our loop. You know that we have continue. Continue will skip the current iteration. It will go for the next iteration. For this one, for this structure, let's give a good example. For example, if you are making a small game for the children, and we'll say just enter five numbers which are divisible by five. So how can we do this one using this structure for loop? So we will say first, the first thing that we will use for with the students, we will say, for example, for, so we want to repeat five times. So how can we say for I in range? Five times means what? Five times means it should start from one and it should go to six. It will go to the five. It will not include six. So from one to five is five times. So that's why I will say like this. Um, so that's it. So now we will ask number from user. We will say number is equal to, then we will say int, I will say input, then I will say enter a number. So we will say enter a number, and then now we will check if the number that he or she has entered is not, if we divide that number, if we divide that number by 3, and that the result is not equal to 0, is not equal to 0, it means that that's not divisible by 3. So if that number is not divisible by 3, we will say you failed, because you are not able to give me a number which is divisible by 3. We will say you failed. We'll say try again later, for example, try again later. And if this is not the case, and then we will say break. And if this is not the case, and he or she is able to enter five numbers which are all divisible by 3, finally we will say else, we will print congratulations, because this is our normal flow of execution. Congratulations. For example, you win. Congratulations, you won the game. So for example, let us see, the first one is 12. 12 is divisible by 3. The second one is 33. It's also divisible. For example, we will say 63, this is also divisible. For example, we will say 90, this is also divisible. We will say, for example, 25 or 251, this 251, this is, I think this is also divisible by 3, because if we add the number 2 plus, is this also divisible? See, after 5 numbers, it is saying you won the game. If I run it again and I will say, for example, 12, it is yes. 23, it's not divisible. Say you failed, try again. Since this break statement is executed, the else statement will not be executed, because if it is executing, we failed, and again it's a congratulation. It doesn't make sense. So this is, and the last one is nested for loops. Sometimes we want to use one for loop inside another for loop. So this is nothing but nested for loops. For example, if I want to print multiplication table, for example, I will say for I in a range 1 comma 11, since I want from 1 to 10, or see, I want from 1 to 9, so 1 comma 10, and then I will use another for loop inside this one. I will say for j in range, then I will say 1 comma 10, because I want a multiplication table of 1 to 9, and after that I will say print me I multiplied by j, and then after that please have this much space. And one thing that I should say, that it should not go, usually we know that print statement is ending a new line. I do not want to end a new line, because it is a table. I want multiplication table, and after one, for example, multiplication for 1 is end, for multiplication table for 2, give me a new line. So just like like this. See what it does. For example, first I is 1, j is also 1, 1 into 1 1, j becomes 2, 1 into 2. So for this time I do not need new line, that's why I have put end here. So once the multiplication table of 1 is ending, after that I want a new line. So that's why for 2 it's going, for 3, for 4, for 5, for 6. So this is nothing but when I'm using one for loop inside another for loop. This is called nested for loops. At the end, thanks for watching. If you like the video, please like and subscribe this channel.